Hello and welcome. It's Bev, and today my special guest is Jeanette Shipston. Welcome to you, Jeanette.
Thank you.
So, Jeanette, let's talk about you first. So tell me what it is that you do and, how long you've been practicing and all those things.
Okay. I began practicing as a naturopath in 1996 in January. Prior to that, though, I had been a registered nurse, and I guess I did what a lot of nurses do, and they get a little bit tired of the medical system and start looking for something that's just a little bit more aligned to them, and that's what happened to me. And I started practicing as a naturopath and a Bowen therapist, massage therapist. I've then sort of done some postgrad studies in clinical nutrition and a few other little assorted things that have just sort of added to my practice over the years.
So that's so more than 20 years.
Yeah, 1996. Yeah.
Wow. So you must have seen many clients in that time.
I think I have. Yes. And back in those days, it was it was very rare. Naturopaths weren't sort of everywhere. And it just sort of happened for me. Look, to be honest with you, I was actually I was off work. I'd had 3 of my children, and I was a stay-at-home mum, and I was looking for something to study. And I was going to go into social work, but I wasn't overly fussed on the subject. And then I saw a little article in the bottom of a grassroots magazine that somebody gave to me to have a look at. And I saw this and I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. Study to be a naturopath, learn about herbs and nutrition. I thought, well, that'll be beneficial for me and my family. And I had no intentions of practicing, but got through the course and, put it all into practice. And I only gave up nursing about probably 10, 11 years ago now. But nursing, it was a great background, I think, to have that medical knowledge along and then to put on top of that the natural offerings and make a difference in that way. So it's been really lovely. I truly love what I do.
Yeah, no, I think that's the thing, is like you said, that it is of interest to you because you felt it could support and help you in your own family. So it sort of comes from that place too. That's what I love about naturopathy as well.
Yeah.
And so, Jeanette, let's talk about your well-being journey. So how did you come to sort of, you went to nursing, and then, so why were you focused on health? Did you have your own well-being journey?
Look, I can remember as a kid having, not being that, when they used to make us have those bottles of milk at school? Do you remember that?
I wasn't raised in Australia, so I don't.
Well, back in, when I was a kid at school, and I'm in my mid-50s now, but when I was at school, they used to give us, the crates of milk would come out. We all had to drink a bottle of milk, and I always used to get a bellyache, and yuck. And I never knew why. I didn't know that there was an issue there, that I had lactose intolerance. But anyway, and I always used to try and sneak off and avoid having to have it. But anyway, didn't get away with it very often, and then you suffered. But apart from that, I think as a kid I was pretty good. I never had any problems. As an early mother, I had a lot of acne and a lot of skin issues and a lot of PMS and things like that. And then it, that sort of resolved itself. I just sort of, I knew nothing about natural medicine, let me tell you. And then as I've gotten older, I think I've had 5 children, a couple of miscarriages as well. And I think that personally, I don't really think I had any health issues, probably until my late 40s, I think. And then I started to put a little bit of weight on and also have a lot more stress in my life. And, just to do with a couple of my children and some of my grandchildren and things like that. And that's really, really pushed me to how I work now, and the realization of how important those little adrenal glands are to us. And I truly think that is the most important part of a woman's body, looking after those adrenals.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess that's why when I was reading on your website, you talk about success and failures all down to your hormones. Now it makes sense. So why do you believe that's the case, especially when you're maintaining weight?
Well, okay. So the thing is that, well, we've got so many hormones, okay? And, you know, when often we think about hormones, we're thinking about just our estrogen and our progesterone or our testosterone if we're a man. And almost everybody knows about adrenaline and cortisol and things like that. But there's so many other hormones that are going round and round in your body. And, you know, I like to call it the dance of the hormones because they're up, they're down, they're in, they're out, they're up, at all different times. There's all these different things that are going on all of the time. And there's the hormones from the brain. I mean, we have the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and, you know, that axis, you know, in the middle of your brain. And then that, you know, associated with your thyroid, with your adrenals, with your ovaries. There's so many pathways. There's the nervous pathways that are also have that contribution from the hormones as well. You know, there's just so many things. And if your hormones are not being managed or balanced correctly, if they're not able to be processed, you've got a problem. And so then you've got to go back to your liver, okay, because your liver is responsible for the absolute metabolism and all of that of every single hormone and every single chemical that goes through your system. So therefore, your liver is part of your digestive system. So if your digestive system's not working, how's your hormonal system going to be coping, right? And then there's the immune system. If the immune system is overreacting or anything like that, then that's going to have impact on your hormonal system. But what made the immune system like it is probably the digestive system. So it just all keeps going.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So the interrelatedness of the hormones, the digestive system, and the immune system. And there is so much literature now about things like leaky gut and so on, but you're the first person that I've seen that's really focusing down on hormones because those are precursors to a lot of the other things.
Yeah.
So Jeanette, on your program called the Hormone Detox, you talk about resetting your hormones. Can you explain the process and how this would work in your body?
Okay, so I really do think that there's a couple of components, and I guess the way I've put it all together, I've sort of, it's a little more complex. It's more complex than probably what it looks on paper. But when it comes down to it, do you know cholesterol, which statin drugs try to knock out, cholesterol is your major precursor for the production of your steroid hormones, okay? So that's all of your estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, your cortisol, your adrenaline, all of those sort of hormones, okay? You've got to have cholesterol. So cholesterol is really important, and we do need, so your body produces its own cholesterol, okay? And that helps with the whole management of your hormones. But also then you've got to then realise that your brain is a big ball of fat, essentially. And in that brain is where the production of so many of those hormones happen, in the hypothalamus and then into the pituitary. But a lot of the hormones that are up there are the ones that send messages down. You know, they're not the actual hormone, but they send the message down to the other, to the glands and that to actually produce the hormones. So resetting the hormones is essentially what you need to do. If you look back, like we can fix a lot of symptoms if we, you know, just go straight for the problem, yeah? But if you want to fix it. You've got to get those foundations right. It's like when you build a house, you know, it's pointless having awesome brickwork if you've got it on shonky foundations, yeah? So you've got to fix those foundations down there, and that's where the resetting of the hormones happens. And it's got to happen via, I believe, via up in the brain. So when it comes, I originally started my hormone detox program as just simply a weight management program. And I do that because you get a quick result relatively quickly, okay? And therefore I use it as a real kickstart. The reason that I did that is because, in my opinion, and I know that weight management is extremely controversial these days, and people say you shouldn't be on diet, or you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't weigh yourself every day. Well, you know what? Sometimes I really think, you know what? If you've got extra fat on, you've got extra fat on, right? And it's there for whatever reason that it got there, okay? And if it's due to eating issues, if it's due to something that's, you know, gone wrong in your body, whatever the reason, doesn't really matter. Sometimes we need to do something really substantial to get ourselves on the right track, you know? And doing this program really drops some weight relatively quickly. So over about 4 weeks, you can drop between 7 and 10 kilos, quite simply. And as long as we look after your body, and as long as we are then at the same, and what we're doing at the same time in that program is we're fixing your digestion, okay? So we're getting all of that working. We're making and breaking habits, and we're doing that because we're not using any processed foods whatsoever. It is just very clean eating that we're doing for this short period of time. But what we do is we get the body into ketosis, we burn off that fat, and the crucial element is using some homeopathic drops that I have made up. We actually reset the hypothalamus. Now, the hypothalamus is that little gland that and its responsibility when it comes to weight loss is it determines how much subcutaneous fat you're carrying. So if, you know, what do you call that? A pendulum? Yes. Oh, I've got a pendulum. Here we go. Pendulum. If you've got a pendulum and it normally, you know, sits here, okay, and it says that this is how much fat you've got. And you know what? You go on a bit of a program and you lose a little bit of weight. You know what? You know how it comes back again? Or
yes.
Sometimes you put on a little bit of weight, but you know what? A week or two later, you know, you've dropped it again, and it comes back to this set point. Okay.
Set point, yes.
Yeah, to the set point. So when it comes back to that set point, your hypothalamus is responsible for that. Now, your hypothalamus is also responsible for things like your libido. It's responsible for the temperature that you run at, and therefore that's all influencing your metabolic rate and all that sort of thing. And like you said, we've got that hypothalamic pituitary axis down to the thyroid, which of course is your metabolic rate, down to your adrenals, so your coping mechanisms, down to your ovaries, which is your whole reproductive cycle and all of those sorts of things. So back to the initial thing, why is it important to reset the hormones? Because sometimes you've got to realize where you've got to be able to go back to where you need to be. And it's like starting afresh. Doing this program, the way it's been put together with quite a number of elements into it, you cover all bases. So you're covering all those different foundations. Something else that I heard just recently, because I'm also looking into Alzheimer's and stress, depression, Parkinson's and things like that. So I'm doing some research on that. And something that was said was that if you imagine that you had a roof and there were 36 different holes in that roof, if you only plug up 6 of them or 31 of them, that's fine, that's awesome, but you're still going to have rain dripping through the other 5 or however many. So you've got to cover all of your bases, and that's sort of what you need to do. You've got to cover all of those foundations or plug up all those holes in the roof so that you can get to be at the health level that you want to be at.
So in summary, Jeanette, then, so it's a process of eating specific foods that are nourishing and going to be building for the body, and supporting that process of the hypothalamus change with homeopathic drops.
Yes, and I do also tend to use a few different supplements. I specifically use liver support, although even the foods that we're going to be eating are very supportive to the liver. I really think that, sometimes to affect change, you give it that little bit of an extra punch, get in there and get it happening. And the other major thing that I do is adrenal support. So using a herbal formula. I generally use tablet rather than the liquid because a lot of people are a bit iffy about liquid herbs.
They taste so bitter.
Oh, they're disgusting. But, it can be really awesome. So adrenal and liver support along with it. And sometimes there are some other things that people need. So I always do a full assessment with people before we even start the program. You don't just go, oh, hey, can I start that program? And I go, oh, yeah, sure, here it is. Okay.
Yes.
It's very personalised. And basically we do a full assessment because if there's something else that needs addressing, then that's what we need to do.
Yeah. And so we were talking, so you sort of said like you started off this, the hormone detox as a protocol for weight loss, but you also referenced, how much the hypothalamus predicts how much basically fat you're storing, I guess. And so what I'm interested in knowing is what is the relationship between fat and toxin storage?
Right. So the thing is, let's go back to your liver. So every single thing that goes in through your skin or through your digestive system or you breathe it in or whatever, if there's toxins and things like that that are going to get into the blood system, get into the body, things like that, then what's going to happen is your liver is going to have to process them at some stage. All right? So the thing is, if your liver can't cope with it, your liver says, no, can't handle it. I think I'll just store it in the fat over here. It's going to be beautiful and protected. Now, sometimes then when we go on a weight management program, we start to lose a bit of that fat and everything. And what happens, you start to feel like shit. Okay, you feel really awful. You feel nauseated and, all of this sort of thing and very, very tight. And that's because these toxins have been mobilized again into your body and your liver is just unable to process them. And that's why we want to give it all the support and water. Give your body the water to be able to flush things out. And I tell you, if you're not pooing every day, at least once, you have got a problem with your liver and toxins. It's absolutely got to happen. One of the major things that I see with hormonal issues is people who are constipated. Because if you are not going to the toilet every day, at least once, like I said, and, you can go more often than that, but at least once, then what's happening is some of the metabolites from estrogen metabolism, get emptied into the bowel via the bile, okay, and that as it sort of travels down into the lower bowel and everything, if it doesn't go out the other end, it gets reabsorbed back through the body. So, people can be, reabsorbing so much all of the time. It's got to be going out.
I think the same is true of, like you're saying, is wherever the toxin comes from. So like a lot of people talk about mercury toxicity. And so, yes, if you are not eliminating through the liver and through the bowel properly, that process is not, even if you went on that sort of protocol to remove mercury from your body, you would actually reabsorb it because it's sitting there long enough for it to come back again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's so important to know that.
Yeah, it's a primary thing. And, it's very interesting, when we were babies, okay, our bowels were stimulated after every feed, and it was called the gastrocolic reflex. So something went into the stomach, the gastro, and the bowel responded with a response. And, as we grew up, we switched off that. And we switched that off because it wasn't convenient to go to the toilet. Or like particularly once you went to school, you know, things like that. I can remember, I mean, I know now that the kids are allowed to go to the toilet, but I can remember being a kid and you weren't allowed to go to the toilet unless it was lunchtime. You know, now when you think about that, it's appalling. It's ridiculous. And it's probably been a contributor to, I don't know how many people's health issues, you know, those sort of chronic health issues.
Yeah, that's so true. Because, I mean, the same is true of public toilets, you know. So people will not want to use public toilets when they're out of their own home.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, it's really interesting, that. And so obviously now we understand the detox protocol, but what impact does it have on the body? And then, therefore, you know, some of the benefits of that. So what would I expect to see after those 4 weeks that you were talking about?
Yeah. So basically, so we do the initial 4 weeks and then we do a bit of follow-up because we only do 4 weeks, you know, where we're full on, you know, a bit of, you know, full restriction and things like that. And then we start to reintroduce more foods back into the program and things like that. But in that time frame, basically what we're going to do is we are going to get some balance to our hormones. We're going to remove some of those stored toxins. We're going to have improved our digestion, potentially reduce some allergy symptoms. We're going to heal up the gut. We're going to get a bit of relief from that good old leaky gut. And leaky gut, for anybody who may not understand, is basically if you imagine that the gut is a cylinder and there's some little holes in it, okay? If you've got leaky gut, the holes are this big, and if you haven't, they're only this big, okay? So it just means that when it's bigger, then bigger fractions of fragments of protein, which are going to be able to go through, and then those then react with the immune cells on the other side and create a whole new drama for us, you know, with allergies and things like that. So we're going to heal that up. We're probably going to normalise your blood sugar levels, your blood pressure. Cholesterol levels can drop significantly over the 8 weeks, you know, by simply cleaning everything up. Energy, you're going to gain that. What else? You will lose some fat. You'll lose centimeters if you potentially don't lose weight on the scale. You're going to lose some of that. Reset your metabolism. And most people will start to feel a lot more comfortable. Look, I know the first time I did the program, I was a little bit dubious, you know, because I was like, losing 7 kilos in 23 days, that's crazy, you know, what sort of, you know? But you know what? I thought, okay, I'll be a guinea pig, I'll try it. And I did try it. And I'll tell you, I felt taller and I walked taller and I felt clean and free and I don't know, it did. You feel good, your brain clears, right? Your thinking starts to clear. And it's an awesome program as a Kickstarter. I don't like to do it too much, you know. So you can't just keep repeating the program every time you turn around, because that's going to put a lot of stress and strain on your system. So, and we don't want to be doing that. What we want to do is we want to then bring in the good habits and continue eating in the right way so that we can move forward, you know. On the flip side of saying that, I do the program probably once a year, and I do it as a refresher. And for me, I use it as a great full-on detox program.
Yeah, I was just going to say to you, so how often should we do this detoxing? And you've just answered that, so that's beautiful. So you're saying once you've completed 4 weeks, you're going to introduce other nutritious, helpful foods.
Yeah.
And you're going to you're going to start to add things in that actually makes it easy as a lifestyle. And so then it's just once a year, just resetting again. And then maybe your base is slightly different. So, you know, perhaps you were very sluggish and low in energy and, you know, having hormonal problems, especially mood swings or gas, bloating, all the other things that come with digestive issues as well. And so you might not be back in that place, but just by doing the reset again, you sort of, that whole once a year approach to detoxing supports the body to stay where it needs to be.
Yes, that would be quite accurate. And, sometimes we don't even need to do the full-on, like with the homeopathic drops. Sometimes we can just do a similar sort of a program, but it doesn't have to be as much. It really depends on what's gone on for you over your period of time, So, again, it's very personalised, but we can still do a similar sort of a progress and the liver support and the adrenal support and, those sorts of things. They're very easy to do. And, you can virtually do that sort of at any time, just to support the body. Being very careful and mindful, of course, if you're on any medication, because sometimes using liver support products, herbs and things like that can actually speed up or slow down your medication. So we do need to be very mindful of that sort of thing as well. Yeah.
That's super. And Jeanette, so to close our conversation, what are some of your tips for living fabulously? What are your non-negotiables?
Wow. Okay. I think for living fabulously, you know what? I think you really have to know where you are. I think that knowing, and I mean truly knowing, we all sort of might go, oh, I'm a little bit, okay, if we're talking weight, some people will be like, oh, yeah, I need to lose a little bit of weight. How much weight do you need to lose? Or how much fat do you need to lose? Or how much muscle do you need to gain? Because I think that I guess I'm a bit of a facts and figures person, a bit of a numbers person. And I like that sort of, that's my personality, to like the facts. So you need, from my perspective, it's awesome to really know your baseline. To know, to go and get your yearly, if you want to, blood test done, and have somebody really look at them from that naturopathic perspective, because that can make a huge difference. Like if I can say about, like, for example, the thyroid gland. Now, we know that the TSH, which is the thyroid stimulating hormone, okay, has a normal range of between 0.5 and 5, okay? So if your doctor sees that range, your result within that, he's happy as, okay? But you know what? You shouldn't be. Ideal is 1.2. So if your reading is starting to be 1.5, 1.8, 2.1, 2.5, hello, that is a huge indicator to tell you, okay, something needs to be done here. And your hormones need a balance at that stage, that, and that could be interaction from estrogen as well as the thyroid and energy production, the mitochondria, the whole thing could just go on and on. But knowing where you're at, I think, allows you to make the right decisions as to where you want to go, which path you need to follow, and how on earth are you going to get there. All right? And so for me, that's what I think I would say. Know where you're really at.
Oh, brilliant. Yes, I think that's important for anything, isn't it? Like business, life, health, all of those things.
That's it. You don't know where you're going if you don't know where you are now, and you don't know how to get anywhere. You don't know which way to go.
Absolutely. And you can find Jeanette Shipston at her website. It's JeanetteShipston.com, and also on Facebook, and these will be in the show notes for you. So thank you so much, Jeanette. I mean, my big nuggets, I think, are just making sure, like you say, is, take notice of how you're feeling right now, do the tests that need to be done to know what your baseline is, and then secure, somebody like yourself to do something about that resetting. So if you've all of the things that you mentioned, so excess weight, fluctuating moods, menstrual problems, fertility problems, I should imagine as well, gut health problems. So many things relate to the hormones in our body. So please just, listen back, take some notes, and you'll be able to get in touch with Jeanette. So thanks so much for being with me today, Jeanette.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been fun. Thank you, Ben.